What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel, Journey with G Poppy. If you recall, a while earlier I was showing you a slabwood table that I had done, and I put epoxy on, and I left the bark around the edges, and the finish started to fail around the edges of the table. So I'm going to show that to you, if you can see right there. So this finish started to fail because the bark held moisture, right? The bark held moisture. And so what I'm going to do today is attempt to take this bark off, clean up the edges, and get ready to put another coat of polyurethane, or not polyurethane, sorry, epoxy on this slabwood table. So let me turn this camera down to where you can get a better view, and I'll try to make sure you can see. Alright, so if I go up to here, you can see it, and up to here. Okay, so that's a pretty good view. So what I'm going to do is just score a line with a razor knife around the edges, and then I'll just break loose the finish like that. And that finish would not have failed if I had not have left this bark on. So that was a big mistake on my part. So over the course of the winter, that bark absorbed moisture and held the moisture, and the moisture worked its way back up under the finish. So if nothing else, hopefully you learned a valuable lesson from one of my mistakes, and you don't have to experience that yourself. So anyway, I'll try to score a line here. Okay, now we should be able to pop this off. Hope so. Hope we'll be able to pop it off. Yeah, there it popped. Okay, it's popping there. Okay, there it popped. Okay, all right. So that epoxy is pretty hard if it's on a solid base, but when moisture penetrates underneath of it, then it can't hold, apparently. So I'm just gonna have to sand that off and then do another coat of epoxy on there. Oh shoot, I cut into the wood there. That's not a good idea. That was not good. That's not something you want to do. All right, but once we get a nice coat of epoxy on there, I had to cut pretty deep on that part. All right, let's see if we can. Okay, kind of just break it loose with a sharp wood chisel, but you got to be very careful not to dig into the wood. Okay. Okay. It's pretty straightforward. So far, we're doing okay. All right. Okay, and I did see another piece of this. Break it loose right there. Had to go a little deeper on that piece. Alright, let's see. I have to score it again. Okay. Okay. Let's see how that's done. Keeps going back further on that edge. All right, there we go. Now we're cooking. There we go. Now we're cooking. All right. It's not too bad. Once I sand that off, ouch. Once I sand that off, it should be fine. So now what I need to do is take the bark off this edge. Woo! Tough. I've got a very sharp wood chisel, and I may have to use a hammer as part of this process. So I have a similar scenario on the other side of the table as well. All right. It's very unfortunate that I'm having to redo part of this, because I was very pleased with the way it turned out. But like I said, leaving the bark on there allowed it to absorb moisture like a sponge, and that caused the finish to fail. So that was not good. I'm just taking it little by little, peeling the bark away. Let some air get to it to let it dry out good before I start trying to redo the finish. So I'll have to let the sun get to it for a couple days in order to, like I said, to dry the wood out. Right. I think I'm gonna take a little bit of this edge off too, because it comes out to a point. I'm just fearful that it will not hold either. All right. Let's try to get a more of a defined edge. Got to hold your mouth just right when you do this kind of stuff. Yeah, some of that's a point right here too. It's really a sharp edge. So I'm thinking I need to level that off a bit so that it's not. Turn you around here a little bit. So I'm gonna try to take this sharp edge off a little bit. Yep. So if you turn your chisel this way, it won't dig into the wood as deeply, because this beveled edge keeps it away from the wood. If you turn it, however, if you turn it this way with the flat edge to the wood, it'll dig deeper. So it's something to be aware of as well. I think one of the worst parts of this deal is how expensive this slabwood is. It's not cheap. Not very cheap to get a big piece of slabwood like this at all. So, you know, you want to You want it to turn out right the first time and not have to redo it like this. So, like I said, hopefully you'll learn from my mistake and be able to move on. When you do your slabwood table, you'll do hopefully a much nicer job. Okay, that's not too bad there. Alright, so let's turn around more up toward the other end of the table up here. Okay, so we still got a little bit of edge that's failing on that. It's not as bad. Not quite as bad. So. All right. Trying not to dig into that wood. So even when that chisel's sharp like that, even just bumping your hand against it can cut into the wood because it's so sharp. So, all right, I'm gonna try to knock some of this bark off. There's a big piece of chunk of bark just popped off. So you want to get past the, make sure you're into the wood. And beyond the bark. Because the bark is so much softer, like a sponge. Like a sponge. All right. Okay. Yeah, let's see. Still a piece of bark right there. Just want to get rid of every piece of bark on this piece of slabwood. I don't want to have to do this again. do this again, if possible. Yep, if at all possible, we don't want to do this a third time. All right. So. Probably once I sand that, that'll be pretty good. Alright, so see if I get more. Let's see if I get a better curve on that piece. Like a woodpecker. Just trying to make this edge a little more smooth. The transition around. That looks like a piece of bark right there. I guess that's a knot. Maybe that's a knot. Maybe that's a knot. I don't know. Probably was a knot. I just don't want to take any chance with that bark again. Okay. It's not as sharp on the edge now, which is pretty good. Oops. Edge. So notice I'm using the butt of my hand. Just kind of peel that, tap on that chisel to get that edge off. Alright. And like I said, I'm gonna have to let the wood dry out a bit, and then sand it some. And then once that's done, then it should be good. Okay. What I did on the other end, when I took the bark, they cut around the slab wood. I stained it with walnut stain to make it look more natural. So I'm going to switch over to this side now. Because this side needs some repair as well. So can you see? You can't see that far. Try to move you here. All right, so we'll start right in here where you can see. And again, we're gonna score the line like I did earlier. Score line on the epoxy. Alright. And then we're gonna break the bark off like that. And epoxy kind of went with it. Kind of went with it. That works pretty well when you do it that way. Alright, let me move my hand out of the way so you can see. See how that epoxy's breaking loose right where I scored it. See, I popped it away. So the epoxy went, or the bark went right with the epoxy. All went together. Makes it a lot easier now that I've tried it that way. And that bark is still wet there too. So of course it rained last night, but yeah, that's not a good combination at all. Not a good combination. Make sure I get all that sponginess off this piece of wood. Get back to some real good solid wood. All right. Okay. See if I can't get a different view for you. If you give me a minute here. Get you a view from a different angle. Alright, so if you look up, oops, sorry. So I'll give you the view from that angle, okay? So I'm going to score this again, just to show you what it looks like from down underneath, and then the bark just breaks away like that, right? So the bark's coming at you now, okay? All right. So then again, my beveled edge of my chisel is toward the wood, and that keeps from digging in too deeply to the wood, and that bark's just peeling off relatively easy by hand. If you've ever built a log cabin before, you know what it's like to peel bark off of a bunch of logs. Some of you guys, you folks out there probably have done that. I don't know, maybe not. Some of you are like, oh, I'd love to do that. Well, I built a couple log cabins with my dad when I was young, just for like outbuildings. So we had a bunch of extra wood, and it was not super easy. It was pretty cool now looking back, but you know, something that I learned that I would not have learned if we wouldn't have, you know, used some of the timber that we had on our property to build log cabins. You know, my dad was kind of he was an old school kind of guy. Tried to teach me the old ways of doing things, you know. And it's, you know, it's turned out to be a good thing for me, you know, now as I'm older now. So let me try to see if I can set you up a little better here. Shoot. There we go. Let's see how this angle looks. All right. I'll set you up right there. See if it'll stay. Doesn't want to stay. Okay. How's that? Is that going to stay? Yes, no? All right, I think that might stay. All right, so So you have another angle, okay? So with my beveled edge in, I'm working to get this bark off. See how soft that wood is? That's the underside of the bark. So we need to get into the harder parts of the maple wood, because this is a Canadian maple tree, was a Canadian maple tree. So, and maple's a pretty good wood, but there's a soft part under that bark that we need to get rid of. Okay, it's cleaning up pretty good there. Whew, that's hard work. That's pretty hard work. Okay. Okay. I think I've gotten most of the softwood out there. Now this part here I'm gonna need to go a little deeper right here, because so I'm gonna flip the chisel around a little bit, because the top edge goes out a little further. All right, let's try it this way now. Sorry guys, if you can see that. Woo! I think it's not hot out here. See, what I'm trying to do is taper the wood back underneath so it slopes down instead of out a little bit, just slightly. Yeah, it's kind of go where the wood takes you sometimes. All right, so see how that's going to end? It's going in a little better. That's exactly what I want. See, that's that softwood. That's that softwood on this maple tree. So I've about got all the bark. I've got another section to come off, and so I'm just trying to smooth it up a little here. So, but you know, it's like anything, any other woodworking tools. You know, when your blades are sharp, it takes a lot less work. So if you have obviously, if you have a sharp axe, it takes a lot less effort to split wood, and so on and so forth, right? So it's the same way with a chisel like this. The sharper your chisel, the easier it will be to to chisel through the wood. Get a little deeper there. Alright. Okay, I'm going to have to go a little deeper. So, see how I took away all that softwood underneath the bark. Now so I'll have to do a little sanding to it, you know. Like I said, let the sun and the air dry it out a little bit. But it's beveled in a little bit better now, so I'm pretty happy with that. All right, let's go back up here on the top. All right, we're gonna go. Let's see. Yes, we can go. Whoops, lost you. Sorry. So we're gonna start right here. Okay. I think that's a pretty fair angle. Okay. All right. So we're gonna start the process over again here on this section. We're gonna score the epoxy where it's failing. Okay. And then we're gonna chisel away the bark. All right, there we go. Piece of bark. Yeah. Okay. We're going to start this process again on this piece. If you can go easy on it, better off. Now this bark naturally goes back underneath the wood at an angle. So that one will be much easier to slope as far as that goes, because it's already at a slope. Now I just got to get that softwood under the bark off. All right, that's looking pretty good. All right, so I'll have to come back and look at it again and see where I want to, start with the new epoxy. All right. That's already into the wood already, so that's good. That's getting into the wood there. All right. All right, making a big mess is what I'm doing. Big mess. Pretty good at that. Making messes are fun. Now getting things fixed up that's the hard part. All right. As I said, it's important to hold your mouth just right when you do this. Otherwise, you might mess it up. Whew. All right. I'm gonna try. Knock that piece off. Yeah. All right. So that's fairly good right there. All right. So that knocked that off. Now I just want to smooth this edge out a little bit. Try to make the curve a little more natural there if I can. Kind of round it off a little bit. That softwood underneath there. You can tell that softwood, like bark, it just peels right off pretty good. All right. Whew. That's some rough going there. It's pretty rough going. Whew. When you get up around that top edge, you want to go. That's so crazy. When you're underneath, it's not a big deal. I think that's some of that soft underbelly of the bark too. Yep, it sure was. We'll get rid of all that soft wood. Otherwise I'll have the same problem all over again. Now make sure you're into some solid wood. Alright, so my edge is beveled except for right in this section right here, so I'm going to try to bevel it in a little bit better here. Alright, I'll take that top edge off. Alright. Yeah, I fell in love with that bark a little bit too much, and it cost me. So, because it just looks so nice and so natural. But it came back and bit me. Whew. I'm sure you guys are getting tired. Alright. Let's see. Okay. Pretty happy with that edge. I just need to bevel underneath a little bit. Whew. Man, it's hard to imagine that stuff would be that hard to do. Oh, shoot, I'm moving. Woo! Man. Whew. Man. All right. It's a pretty cool evening, but I've worked up a sweat, to be honest with you. I really have. Woo! All right. So I think we're pretty good there, guys. So I've beveled this. I've peeled the bark off. You can see I've peeled the bark off. And I've